Birmingham, 1919. The industrial heart of England, choking on the smoke of factories and the soot of trains. A city of narrow streets, shabby pubs, and people who have long forgotten what hope feels like. A world where power belongs to those who have money, and money belongs to those who have strength. Out of this fog, out of this grime and despair, he emerges. A man whose gaze pierces steel. A man with blades hidden beneath his cap and scars in his soul deeper than any trench wound. His name is Thomas Shelby. Who is he really? A cold-blooded killer obsessed with power, or a cursed hero trying to lift his family out of poverty at the cost of his own soul? To answer that, one must look into those bottomless blue eyes and understand the nature of his war. At first glance, Thomas's path seems straightforward. The leader of a street gang, step by step building a criminal empire, pushing into the highest echelons of power. But his motivation runs deeper than mere greed. This is not just business. It's a war declared on a system, a world that wrote off him and his family before they were even born. Thomas Shelby fights not for money. He fights for a place in the sun for those he considers his own. Despite his outward coldness, Thomas is obsessed with an idea older than himself: family. His blood, his clan, his people. But his love for family is a strange love, often tainted by his dark dealings. He is willing to burn the whole world to protect his brothers, yet he uses them as pawns in his grand game without hesitation, because only he can see the entire board. Sometimes family is a shelter from the storm, and sometimes the storm itself. For Shelby, it is not just a beautiful phrase, but a daily reality. Here is where the central conflict of his tragedy is born. Thomas is a product of two worlds. On one side, gypsy blood, magic, belief in curses, and the ancestral laws of his forebears. On the other, industrial England, with its class barriers, political intrigue, and cold calculation. He speaks the language of business, but thinks in terms of war. He wants legal status, a seat in parliament, the respect of gentlemen, but he achieves it by methods that make those very gentlemen's blood run cold. It is this duality that makes him a figure of epic scale. Without his inner split, without this constant struggle of light and darkness in his soul, he would be just another gangster in an expensive suit. But he is not merely a criminal. He is a commander, leading his army through hell to claim a throne that by birthright does not belong to him. Thomas Shelby captivates and terrifies from the first moment on screen. His image is a manifesto of style, brutality as restraint. Unlike Tony Montana's ostentatious luxury, Thomas wears tweed caps, long coats, and three-piece suits. These are not armor, but a shield hiding emotions. His clothing is a uniform of a class that refuses to know its place. It is a visual code of a man who came to take what is his, quietly, without raising his voice. The charisma of Thomas is born from absolute, terrifying silence. He does not shout, does not gesticulate, does not explode with emotion. He watches. His silence is heavier than any scream. It is the stride of a man who has already faced death and fears it no longer. He always speaks quietly, yet he is compelled to be heard. His monologues are rare, but every word is a sentence. Against the backdrop of politicians, traitors, and rivals who know nothing but firing machine guns, Thomas appears as a being from another dimension. He does not simply want to fit into the system. He wants to rewrite its rules for himself. This monstrous, icy determination in a world of chaos and greed makes the viewer watch him with both horror and awe. Beneath this ostentatious steel composure lies an abyss. His greatest enemy is not the Italian mafia, not the Jewish gangs, nor the corrupt police. His greatest enemy is himself, or rather, the shadows that settled in his mind after the tunnels under Verdun and the Somme. Thomas's tragedy is not that he might lose the war. The tragedy is that with every battle he wins, he loses a piece of himself. He has gained legitimate business, status, mansions, power over people, and finds himself in a golden cage of his own loneliness. The war inside him does not subside, it only intensifies. Paranoia, nightmares, insomnia. This is the true price of his crown. Whiskey becomes the chief symbol of this collapse. At first, it is a way to dull the pain, to sleep without dreams. Later, it is the only companion in the void left by Grace's death. Thomas drowns in smoke and fumes, trying to fill the hole in his chest. His addiction is a metaphor for his curse. to be sensitive enough to suffer, yet strong enough to never show it. Thomas's philosophy is cynical in its simplicity. The world is dirt, and one cannot emerge from it clean. He is an angel of vengeance to some and a devil in the flesh to others. His code is a soldier's code, knowing that a minute in battle is all you have. Everything before is nothing. Everything after is nothing. His famous monologues are manifestos of a cornered beast, moving forward only because stopping equals death. I see everything, hear everything, remember everything. This is not boasting. It is the diagnosis of a man who cannot afford the luxury of forgetting. Here lies his archetype. Thomas Shelby is a hybrid hero, combining traits of both the classic hero and the anti-hero. His cruelty and calculation are tools he wields to build a better world for his children. But the tools are too sharp, and sooner or later they wound the one holding them. He has seized the throne, but the throne demands not a soldier, but a politician. And the politician within him was long ago killed in the war. Everything converges at the climaxes. When he loses Grace, when John dies, when Polly leaves. The empire grows, but the circle of loved ones thins. Yet, he does not yield. He meets each blow of fate with the same icy resolve with which he led his men through hell. The iconic image of Thomas Shelby walking through the fog along the railway tracks to the soundtrack of Red Right Hand is a portrait of a man ready for anything in the world, even the vengeful hand of God. This image is not about heroic resistance. It is about the slow self-destruction of a titan who carried an unbearable burden on his shoulders for too long. It is the victory of duty over desire, of reason over heart, of curse over redemption. The figure of Thomas Shelby is a mirror held up to England between the two world wars. What becomes of a man whom the state first sent to die in the trenches and then forgot on the margins of progress? Thomas is an exaggerated product of the class system. He started from nothing in the slums of Small Heath. He built an empire against all odds, but the material from which he built it was violence. Violence against himself and against others. His story shows how the dream of dignity, carried by the will to power, can create an absolute monster who nevertheless remains human, capable of love and sacrifice. He is a product of his era, its most honest and most tragic creation. So who, in the end, is Thomas Shelby? First, he is the archetype of the Dark Ruler. Cillian Murphy did not play merely a gangster. He played the archetype of the cursed king, who ascended the throne over the corpses of enemies and friends and discovered that there was no one left to rule. Second, he is a cultural icon and a diagnosis of an era. Thomas Shelby became a symbol of post-war Britain, its traumas, its class struggles, its attempt to forge a new identity. His style, his gaze, his walk, these are all part of the pop cultural code that proved stronger than time. Third, he is a warning, a reflection on where the path of the ends justify the means leads, what lies behind the glitter of success, and the true cost of power purchased with one's own soul. His reward is not happiness, not peace, not love. His reward is the moment when, having passed through all circles of hell, he mounts a white horse and rides into the dawn, leaving only ashes behind. Thomas Shelby can only be killed by Thomas Shelby. And in that lies both his greatness and his sentence. In the end, we understand. His story is precisely the dark, doomed underside of the great industrial era. Thomas Shelby is its most loyal soldier and its most fearsome victim. Thomas Shelby is an idol carved from pain, a king crowned in the smoke of factory chimneys, and a soldier who never left the trenches. He will forever remain in the pantheon of cinematic anti-heroes, with his blade-lined cap, his icy gaze, and his unfulfilled, cursed dream of simple human happiness.